I always say it, I would much rather someone go through difficult times early than difficult times later. Because when life catches up with you later, all of a sudden, it's a shock.
Every time there was a fight, a danger, which was every fucking day, I identified the fear in me. I always did what I had to do.
Yep.
But I did it with a lot of fear.
But then the life that came across you happened.
It toughened me up a bit. Even at my most dangerous point on the street, I was dangerous because of my actions, not because of my physicality.
Every time you get defeated and you still show up, that's the evidence that you're tougher than your circumstances. A lot of coaches nowadays, they want to come out and breed these tough fighters, but they don't realize what it really is to build true toughness.
You've got to be through some wars to teach wars.
When you come back, you have the evidence that you're fucking tough, not because you got defeated, but because you came back after a defeat.
Yeah.
Because I think you really realize how someone is tough when they just have that will to keep fighting. G'day guys, we've got today on the Fighters Mindset podcast, Torin O'Brien, owner of Snake Pit Gym, commentator on the massive Muay Thai League fight show, ex-professional Muay Thai fighter and unofficial mayor of Rockhampton. This chat will go really deep and is really relevant for people who are either looking for or have found Muay Thai to save pretty much their life and the direction their life was going, either due to their upbringing or circumstances in life. But it's also a really powerful chat because we actually go really deep into Torin's very resilient and bulletproof mindset, which 22 years in the sport, I've never heard the stories that he's going to share with us today. And it'll really give you an insight on truly the power of the mind and how much a lot of fighters sabotage and destroy their own performance because their mind just gets to them. So welcome on board, bro. Thanks for jumping in.
Frankie, good to be here, mate.
Yeah, it's been a good while happening. We've had some very interesting chats this year. As soon as I met Torin and we started working actually on his business, as soon as we started finding more about him, I was like, man, I got to get you on this podcast because the stories you guys are going to hear tonight is going to be very different to what we're actually used to. So let's start with your upbringing, mate. Tell me about early childhood, your teenage life in the not so pretty west of Melbourne.
Yeah, so I mean, early on as a kid, I grew up in New Zealand until I actually don't know the number, we'll say 13-ish. Life there was really good, you know. There was not a lot of money in Taupo. Everyone was quite poor, but everyone has everything they need. So like my mum provided everything. We grow our vegetables, we go fishing, so life was pretty good there. But what is also around that central North Island is a lot of gang violence. Yeah. Like the bullying there is a little bit different. Like here, well, I don't know what it's like these days back there, but you know, these days it's all about words and cyberbullying, and over there you just get your head punched and your shoes stolen. Like simple as that, mate. Simple as that.
Yeah, old school bullying is very different. Very different.
I would argue it's probably easier than it doesn't go home with you. Once your head's punched and your shoes are stolen, that's it. But you're not going home and opening messages.
And you're getting just bombarded.
Yeah.
I think that's where really the suicide rate with the youth and all the issues that the youth are going through is that, like you say, it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't.
So back then it was a bit simpler. You got in a fight, and I, for a long time, I come off second best. I was a little white, red-headed kid in a predominantly Maori place. So, you know,
odds were against you from the
odds were against me. A 12-year-old white boy's like 50 kilos wringing wet. The rest of the footy team, they're like 90 kilos, you know. So there was a bit of issues around, you know, bullying and shit like that. And then eventually my mum put me into kickboxing. So my first exposure to any type of combat sport was kickboxing. Very different. It's called Modka kickboxing. My coach was Gary Luton, and he was at the time the New Zealand kickboxing coach. He was Dan and Santo's student, which was Bruce Lee's last student. So it's a pretty good lineage. But it was nothing to do with Muay Thai. I called it pants fighting. No gloves or anything, but no punches to the head or to the body.
So it was just kicks?
No, it was punches, but not to the head.
Just body shots.
Like to the head.
Yeah. So like karate combination.
Yeah, it was like a mixture of kickboxing and karate. I'm still not really
Which is the transition. Like, even if you look at the old Kyokushin karate styles,
Yeah.
which, you know, we all know karate nowadays predominant is quite McDojo-like.
Yeah.
However, back in the day, the Kyokushin karate, the hardcore, the Judge Reed,
It was hard.
Judge Reed, those guys were just hard as nails, and they were the start of ultimately combat sports.
They were, and they talk about like how hard the grading was and all that stuff, but I think it's all dumb. Like, yeah, they're all really tough, but they're really tough if we're just standing still, taking a shot each. It was a bit different, you know?
Yeah. It wasn't fighting.
Yeah.
It was punishment.
It was different. So I did fight. I entered one tournament back then. So this is in New Zealand as a 12, 13-ish year old, which went really well. I actually cleaned up. I was pretty new. I made it to the final, and I got disqualified in the final because I thought I'd won. I got a head kick knockout by my coach's instruction, and then I ended up getting disqualified. And back to say, it wasn't in a ring; it's like a square on the hall, and then I had to sit on my knees, my back to my opponent, like a respect thing, like, oh, I fucked up.
Oh wow!
I didn't know the rules. I heard head kick, and I
threw a head kick.
Yeah. So that was my first sort of experience into that world.
In that space, and I don't know if you remember that far back, but how did you find the transition from getting bullied to then actually being able to compete and handle yourself?
Terrifying.
Yeah, it still is, isn't it?
Terrifying. And I remember I had a Sony Walkman, the little yellow Sony Walkman, and I lay it on the back of this car on the way to, which is an hour or something drive, listening to Korn, Dead Bodies Everywhere, on repeat, as this little kid that's terrified, trying to do anything he can to psych himself up.
So it's a really interesting part, because being able to transition from being bullied from that really difficult environment, which is what a lot of youth do. I've always been quite on the fence whether youth should compete or not. And I know that's a controversial thing, but really getting that confidence to overcome fear is such a powerful thing for a young man, especially.
That's what it was for me. And so this was different because normally, say if it's school, and I always had, like, I guess now I know would be like some fear or anxiety about, oh, those guys over there, they're the ones that get you. So you're always waiting for this thing to happen. But when I went to compete for the first time, that was the first time I was choosing to go and do something. You know, so that was the difference. I didn't want it to happen before. Now I was choosing to.
Yeah. I always say bravery is in the face of fear, not in spite of it.
Yeah.
So when you get taught that I choose to go forward when there is fear, it develops a very important trait.
Yeah, I mean, that's the definition of courage, right? You do it even though you're scared.
Yeah.
And so after that, I remember there was one more incident at school once I'd started doing that. And it was the first time I fought back. And boy, did I fight back.
Yeah.
And nothing ever happened to me again.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what I'm really big on, like, even with my own kids, I'm really, like, because there's been a couple of bullying things come up, and I'm very open. You have my full blessing. Defend yourself in whatever means you see fit.
Yeah.
If the school says you're in trouble, that's just with them.
So be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it really ended everything, and so that was a big change in life. And it wasn't much longer after that I moved to Melbourne,
and then
shit got real.
Yes, it's interesting to think you're in the north of New Zealand around gang violence, and I think a lot of us Aussies even look at the Kiwis' gang violence as a next level up. And then to think that was a safe place compared to West Melbourne.
I guess the big difference is there was a lot of violence there, but it was all hands.
Yeah.
Right? So when I came here, it's different. Now there's weapons. Now there's... It's a bit more organised, you know?
It's getting a lot worse as well. Like, I try not to follow the news for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But since moving from Perth to Melbourne, I've also been aware there's like carjackings, machete wars here. It's really getting to a climb. When now you think, do I teach my kids how to fight or run?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you don't know which way, and sometimes the run is the better option. And for me, I'd moved here. When I moved to Melbourne, I moved in with my father, which is the first time I'd kind of got to know him. I'd met him once or twice before for like a few days as a younger, so it wasn't really much of a memory. And my dad was... Well, he's an ex-mercenary and ex-everything fucking hard as you could think of. So if I was going to be with a person that is to keep you safe in an area that's surrounded by violence, he was the right one, you know?
Yeah. I can imagine the influence he had as well.
Yeah, so there's it was Housing Commission for a long time, and the Housing Commission kids, we all gather our own little community because most of the parents are fucked on drugs. Yeah. So a lot of the time the Housing Commissions get together, we figure out how to get our own food, how to do this, how to do that, how to do all these things. And then after a while, we moved out to Braybrook. I'm actually going to go past the house after here and have a look, because that's when we copped the home invasion. We copped the one of the famous, back before they were cool, the African home invasions. And we had about 10 people come through.
Oh, wow. How old were you here?
I would have been 14, 15. And that was pretty bad, because I remember some of it's clear, some of it's blurry. But I remember my dad telling me we had these long, narrow houses in Darley Street in Braybrook, long, narrow townhouses. And he said, we're at the front door, and they're at the front door trying to get in. He said, the screen door's locked. Just torment them. Just stay there and torment them. Keep them at the front door. And I'm like, okay. And I'm pretending to be tough. And I'm like, hey, fuck you, you know. And,
you'd be terrified.
Yeah, and then my dad, he shoots out the back door. And I didn't know what he was doing. And it really worried me for a second. And then all of a sudden, like fucking Batman, he drops down the front. So he'd gone out the back, over the roof, and then dropped down in front with a couple of skinning knives. He was a slaughterman, same as me. And went to fucking town. Cops showed up. Cops had a big laugh about it. There was ambulances, blood everywhere. Everything.
Oh, wow.
Every horrific thing you can think of just unfolding in front of my eyes. I remember seeing my dad and a cop laugh about it. I don't know what they're laughing about, but it wasn't
about these dummies that picked the wrong fucking house.
I'm kind of guessing that's where it come from. So, you know, from there, that was one event of a million I could go through. That was when I decided to move out further west at the Backs Marsh.
Yep.
And from there, up until I was about 18, 19, life was chaotic. Every bad thing you can think of. And so it was between my last fight as a kid to when I went back to Muay Thai again. It was many, many, many years, but I'd always thought about it. And I always thought about it even throughout my street life in Melbourne, because every time there was a fight, a danger, which was every fucking day, I identified the fear in me. I always did what I had to do.
Yep.
But I did it with a lot of fear.
Yep.
You know? And so it was always this thing in my back of head to go back and revisit that, because I remember that the turning point that was for me as a kid, choosing to do it as opposed to waiting for it to be thrown at you.
Yeah.
It was a big difference. And I thought about it for years and years, all the way until I would have been about 26, 27. Still didn't know what Muay Thai was at this point.
Oh, wow. So you, from the age of, 12 to 27?
All the way to there, nothing but street violence. And I was up in Rockhampton. I'd moved there. I'd just come off a 12-month license suspension, and I was riding a bike to and from work, 20 Ks each way. And I thought, if I'm going to do it again, let's do it now while we've got all these Ks on my legs.
Yeah.
So I went to a place in Rocky that was a bit of a mixed place. I mainly jiu-jitsu, just 2 nights a week Muay Thai. And they hadn't, there was a couple of amateur fighters that come out of there very sporadically, but...
How long ago was this? Like 15 years ago or so?
This would have been, 2015.
Oh, so only about 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, about 2015. And then I had the conversation, look, my intent coming here is to fight.
Yeah.
And they weren't comfortable with it. They didn't really go outside of town or do really fight. It weren't really a fight gym, you know?
Yeah, because Rockhampton's...
It's Rocky. There's not a lot there, right? So I went across town to another gym, Rhino, and I'm friends with Chubbs to this day.
Yeah, nice.
And I had my first 1 or 2 mod Thai. You know, it was mod Thai back then, out of there. And I met a guy there. He come in. He never said a word about Muay Thai, what he'd done before. He's this big fat guy, wear an old man golf hat. And he clearly knew what he was doing, because the way he held pads was different. Yeah. And he pushed me. But he never said who he was, you know. And eventually he said, I'll come around home and we can talk about stuff, because I think you've got something, like, you know, but we need to change the path to like pure Muay Thai. Because everywhere in Rocky, like even where I was there, was mainly MMA, jiu-jitsu. It wasn't really a focus on making it to pro Muay Thai. So I went in there, and that's when he showed me. I walked into his shed, and he's got his Australian IFMA jacket hanging there, gold medals over here. And I'm, okay, this guy's done a few things.
Legit.
You're right. And he shows me, pulls out a DVD, and it was from Evolution. Right. So his name was Ben Sorensen, and he was one of Joe Hilton's fighters back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
He was also fucking mental. Right. So
as most of the old school
proper. So we had a couple of fights together, and that's where the name Snake Pit come from. His fight name was the Snake, Ben Snake Sorensen.
Yeah.
So Snake Pit sort of come from that name.
That lineage.
Yeah, yeah. But some things come up in his life, and I just sort of took that and did my own thing totally.
Yep.
So now it's just me
So if we just rewind for a moment, when you were with Ben and the transition across, so it's interesting because you started off karate, kickboxing, then a big life of the street, pretty much. And then you stepped into the combat sports space, but not really in the combat sports world until you went across the bend. Did you find your time in the street, did that transition across into the training, into the ring, or were you just now healing, for a better word of terms, in that space?
Yeah, so probably a little bit of both. So there was definitely some positives I got out of that bad life. Every time I was a little bit worried about what I was getting myself into, I thought, well, I'm not going to get shot. I'm not going to get stabbed.
Yeah.
None of these like other things I was used to worrying about are going to happen. So it's fine. The hardest thing for me was probably the fitness side initially. It stuck the soul out of me a little bit.
Man, it does it for all of us.
Especially when I went with Ben, because he was full on old school. His house 5 a.m. start with sprints while he's driving the car next to me, yelling at me.
Yeah, they're all rocky.
Blowing some cigarette smoke out the window. Hurry up!
Like a picture perfect movie scene.
Yeah.
Because the reason I ask is one of the common questions we ask is, do you think a fighter is naturally tough, or can tough be trained into a fighter? And I think your introduction to this with your life is a very good example.
Yeah.
Do you think you were tough when you started because of what you'd gone through? Or did you think the sport made you tough?
I think I had some natural resilience, but I do believe you can build people to be tough.
Yeah.
You can build a monster.
Because if you rewind back to the 9-10-year-old who first started kickboxing, he wasn't tough.
No, scared.
He was scared.
Scared, fragile.
But then the life that came across you happened.
It toughened me up a bit.
Yeah, very much.
So I'm sort of both ways. I think I definitely had some underlying, mental endurance from the life I'd had.
Yep.
But none of that was physical. Even at my most dangerous point on the street, I was dangerous because of my actions, not because of my physicality.
Yes.
Not many people in the world I was in were very big. We ate food once every 4 days and slept every 4 days, once every 4 days, but we were dangerous. But it wasn't physicality. So there was some mental toughness there for sure. But for the most part, no, that got built just through fucking hard work.
Just through hard work. And I always say, like, everyone goes, how do you build mental toughness, resilience, etc.? And I go, evidence. Like the people that come out. Now, there are people whose life is the evidence they needed that they're tough, which I think to some stage was yours.
Yeah.
But then, and as I'm sure we'll discover throughout the rest of this chat, the journey a lot of people go on, that's what builds the mental toughness. Because every time you get defeated and you still show up, that's the evidence that you're tougher than your circumstances.
Yes.
And I think that's where it becomes such an important part. And a lot of the fighters that I coach, when they go through really bad losses or really bad moments in life, I go, it's in these moments that when you come back, you have the evidence that you're fucking tough. Not because you got defeated, but because you came back after a defeat.
Yeah.
Because I think you really realize how someone is tough when they just have that will to keep fighting. Now, you can develop that in the street, in your upbringing, but you can absolutely amplify that in the ring as well.
Through hard work. And for sure, I got a lot out of both my parents. My mother, she provided everything in the worst circumstances. And throughout all my childhood before I moved away, I always remember something hard happening and her never ever stopping.
Yeah.
Right? And then, then on the other side, my dad, he was an ex-man. He turned everything into a training exercise, even the worst of the worst situations. I was just explaining to my wife here, on the way here, Footscray. The first place I lived in Australia was Footscray. Rayleigh Street near Middle Footscray Station.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that happened once I arrived was my dad told me to come to the window. It was to show me something at the window. And I barely know him at this point. And he's explaining to me this guy that's in the front yard using the tap and what he's doing. And it was a junkie filling up his needle. And he said, this is what you're going to see here. And then it goes into the next part. So the next part is you don't want to make contact with these guys. They're going to have hep C. So this is what you do. And he just opens his door, casually walks out, kicks him in the fucking head, chases him out, walks back. So that's how you handle a junkie. And me, I'm like a scared kid. Like, shit. So that was like day one.
Yeah.
And from there, every horrific thing that happened, which was almost daily, had like a training exercise attached to it. Because he's an ex-mercenary. So everything for him was strategic. It's fucking crazy, but it was even if it seemed chaotic accidentally, it was probably planned that way.
Well, you need to actually be aware of everything that's going on. And I think this is where, again, the youth, I always say it, I would much rather someone go through difficult times early than difficult times later. Because when life catches up with you later, all of a sudden, it's a shock.
Too late.
It's a very big shock.
Yeah.
So let's chat about after you left Ben Snake and we went down the path of your own gym. Where did that take you?
Yeah. So at this point, I was sort of in between. I'd already had a couple of amateur fights, Muay Thai. I had identified where I wanted to go. So I think it might have been my third or maybe fourth fight. Ben took me to, this is just before we split, took me to Coastal Warfare, Joe Hilton's show.
Yeah, wicked.
So that was the first proper Muay Thai show I'd been to. And the first thing I identified, which is what took me to take my own gym, was like a ladder that I wanted to climb. And for me, I never had like, I want to be this champion. It wasn't that. It was just, if you look at a fight card, for me, what I think as a fighter, stop having these dumb fucking dreams of being Conor McGregor, you know.
It's not going to happen in Muay Thai, guys.
No, it's not going to happen. But if you look at a fight card on any Pro-Am show, there's your ladder with your goals. So like it starts off, well back then, it was 3x2 Mod Thai.
Yep.
You know,
good old Mod Thai day.
And then if you move up, there's 3x2 full Thai, but they've got elbow pads.
Yeah.
And then you go up a little bit more, and then there's 5x2. So they're like semi-pro, they're nearly there. And then you've got the guys that are like asleep out the back because they're so calm and cool that are pro 5x3.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like a very clear stepping stone to where I wanted to go.
Yep.
So it had nothing to do with a title or some weird aspiration. It was like, I just want to get to the real version of the sport, which in my eyes, from what I'd seen, was 5x3, right?
Yeah, the old school way.
That's Muay Thai. So that was and there was nowhere in town, and there still isn't even to this day, other than us that goes to that point of pro.
Yep.
So that was like my first, like, I need to do that. So things come up with Ben and I went my own way, and a friend of mine actually opened a cafe in Rockhampton, and there was 2 levels, downstairs, upstairs. They did nothing with upstairs. He said, hey, do you want to rent that little upstairs space, like $100 a week? Because he knew I was doing some training and stuff. And so that's how it started, an 80 square meter room on top of a cafe. I had 2 Sting punching bags, 1 set of pads, and about 4 different colours of carpet because we got offcuts from everywhere just to put over the tiles.
Yeah, it's the OG gym that you set up. That's always your favourite.
So, and it was back then, like I'd done a little bit with Ben. So my understanding was, okay, so no matter what, every day you do 7 3-minute rounds on the pads, you do this many minutes of bag sprints, you do abs, you go for a run, you stretch.
Yep.
And so that was all I would. So I just would do that no matter what. Sometimes 3 times a day I'd do the whole thing. And that's how it all started. And then from there, it was like one other person would come with me. And then one other person would come with me. And then over the course of about a year, so I was sort of a couple of fights ahead of the people I was teaching. So I'd go away, fight, learn something fucking usually the hard way. And then come back to Rockhampton and like pass that on, pass that lesson on kind of thing. And then over the course of a couple of years, it turned into an accidental full-time gym and a job.
Yeah. That's like, truthfully, I don't think a lot of people nowadays realize that was the OG way. Like a lot of the OG guys, like I even remember when I started at Riddler's. I started at a Zendo Kai McDojo at the beginning. Didn't feel right competing for them. So I went across to Riddler, and when I started with Riddler, he was training out of his garage. Having his retirement fight. There was Chris, Tiger White, Brad, and one other fighter. And I've shown up and I've sat there and I've watched Chris and Daz on pads, and I was like,
whoa,
oh my God, this is fucking Muay Thai.
This is different.
But it was literally broken, damaged carpet, 2 bags up on the wall, old school training. And I was like 6 months prior to this, addict, overweight, destroyed.
Yeah.
So I've kind of turned my life around, and within 6 months found this place, and fuck, it was a shock.
Yeah.
Like I've gone from training twice a week at a McDojo
to this shit,
to showing up, and like Daz has had 75 fights, Chris has had 45 fights, and there's me going, I've had a bunch of street fights. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the OG way is a very interesting way.
We made some, I made some decisions early on. I accepted my weaknesses, which is I have fucking zero idea about proper Muay Thai technique and fancy shit.
Yeah.
So, and we knew that we're going to deny that. So I thought, well, if we don't have the Thai or the coach or with all this experience. We better make up for it with pure fucking toughness.
Yeah.
And some of the things we did, like my first pro that I built, Luke Ruddock, you know, he ended up fighting on some of the earlier MTLs, and the shit we used to do to each other just to make ourselves stupidly tough. I remember taking turns with a weight vest and a bungee cord on the back, crawling on all fours up and down whilst the person with the bungee cord's kicking you as hard as they can in the legs while you're trying to fucking scramble along the ground. And anything we could to create damage and pain and cardio. And it was a little bit Queenslandy rush style in the beginning, but we fucking cleaned up, you know, like we made sure we had the tough part, and then slowly over the years
we added skill.
We added the skill, you know. Pinky was a big part of that initially, actually.
Yeah. Before we get into the pinky topic, it's interesting the way you say it, because one of the biggest things I work with fighters is the search for suffering. A lot of fighters, as soon as they get into that place where they start really hurting, the brain taps into this survival mode. They start slowing down. They start resisting. Because a lot of fighters are like, oh yeah, I'm doing the hard yards. I'm like, no, your fitness level and your skill set is allowing you to really perform at a good level. However, as soon as your mind starts feeling afraid, as soon as you start suffering, hurting, getting banged up, you go into retreat, you go into counter style. Instead of going, all right, I need this pain and suffering to make me stronger, to make me better. And that's where a lot of people, like I was the same as well. Like even though I was coached by Riddler, I'm a short, stocky fighter. I wasn't a Thai style.
You were never going to be this like this long teeper.
Nah, man. Like my legs don't get up that high. But I coached all of my guys just about being tough and resilient. I remember when I was coaching out of Diesel Gym in London, and I was getting these guys to do brutal sprints. And the owner and manager at Diesel Gym at that time goes, isn't there like a technical way to do sprints? I'm like, not if you want to destroy their soul. Because it wasn't about, am I going to improve by sports science statistics? I'm going to improve by 1 second. I'm like, I want them to suffer. Like there was a set of stairs going up into the gym. I'm like, by the end of these sprints, they shouldn't be able to walk up the stairs. If they have, they've survived. They haven't suffered.
They haven't gone enough.
They haven't suffered.
There's a line between you can train your lungs, but once your lungs have reached capacity, that's when the real training starts. You start training your heart.
Yes. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger, I love this quote. The reps don't start until it starts hurting.
Right.
It is the most important part. And I always remembered, like, I used to go at the top of the stairs, and if they were able to walk up the stairs easily, I knew they had a survival mechanism. They weren't embracing the suffering yet. Because when you're in the ring, like, and this is anyone who hasn't fought, or even amateurs, even pros, when you're in the ring and you truly hit that moment of suffering, all the sports science in the world doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. Like I always say, you can't apply sports science to your demons.
You know, and my thing was, now that I look back, you know, I put myself through hell going through this, because I was just learning Muay Thai. I didn't have a coach. Like everything sort of thing was so hard, and I made my training so fucking hard. But it translated, because my last, say, 5-6 fights, I didn't lose any of them. And in my head, in the moment, I'd lost round 1 and 2. In my head, in the moment. I wasn't feeling fucking great. I wasn't at round 3, but especially round 4 and 5. That's where I just clearly steam trained everybody. And what's the difference? Well, the difference was I'd reached that suffering point, and that's where I was comfortable. I'd made myself comfortable in deep water. And most people aren't comfortable in deep water. So for me, and I look back at the things I thought I'd lost the first 2 rounds. I actually hadn't. I'd still won the first couple of rounds, but in my head, it was just things weren't feeling right. Once there was blood and tiredness, and you can see they're tired and you're tired,
that's when the fight begins.
That's when I would go forward. You know, first 2 rounds, I'm a bit more countery. I go backwards, left kick, left kick, left kick. And the last 3 rounds would just be forward. And the only difference is I'm suffering now, and I made that my happy place.
You know, I was speaking to Buddy Henlon, WBC New South Wales champ, and we worked a lot with him because his work rate is really good. And he was always talking about drowning people under pressure. And I go, what a lot of people don't realize is if you want to drown someone, you have to drown with them. You have to drag them deep in that water, and you're both fucking drowning. And only when you finish them do you then try to survive. And a lot of people get into that deep water, and they're busy trying to battle getting back up
Stay there.
instead of fucking staying there.
Stay there.
Yeah.
Learn to breathe underwater, bro.
Literally, if you've ever clinched and your face is smothered and you can't breathe and the hands are in your glove and the blood's pouring through. See, this is one of the really important parts, and it's about the conversation we had earlier. Can you build toughness? Absolutely. Because you've got to break yourself every fucking time to become tough. Now,
I think you can destroy toughness too. I think some coaches go too hard too early, and they don't
100%.
they don't nurture that enough in the early beginning, and then they quit. They leave the sport forever.
Yeah, and you see these people will become gun shy because they spend their entire time just getting beat up. So if you're constantly sparring better opponents who are flogging you, you become hesitant throwing your shots because you think every time I throw something, I get fucked. And this is the importance on the coaching element. I think a lot of people haven't developed themselves as a coach and then start calling themselves as a coach.
Yes.
And it's one of these really important parts that you've got to develop yourself, then you've got to learn how to develop other people, and it's this massive journey. The ego behind a lot of coaches nowadays who haven't done the time is just so dangerous for their fighters because they want to come out and breed these tough fighters, but they don't realize what it really is to build true toughness.
Yeah, it blows me away how many fighters well, not fighters, there's not that many anymore. There used to be a lot of gyms that send people to fight, and the coaches had never really been in the sport. It's like and to me, fighting, like any trainer can make someone fit and strong.
Yep.
Right? And that's the easy part.
Yep.
But teaching the emotion of the sport, why do we do this? Okay, now what happens if you're rocked though? You know, like a little thing that I don't often see get taught much is what to do if you cop an 8 count.
Yeah. Actually take a count and slowly get back up.
Stay there.
Yep.
Stay there, wait till he gets to 7, then slowly stand up. If you try to bounce back up, you're going to wobble, you're going to call it.
This is the ego.
So you don't know that unless it's fucking happened to you, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to be through some wars to teach wars.
See, it's funny, like when I said toughness is built by evidence, I always say confidence and arrogance.
Yeah.
The difference is evidence.
Yeah.
Like the difference is that times that you've been there. You need to be there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your introduction to one of my favorite people, and I think a lot of people's favorite people in this sport, Pinky.
Oh, Pinky. Yeah. So Pinky, he's been an enormous influence to me in those early days.
He has been for so many people.
Yeah.
It's incredible how many people I've met throughout this sport that were like, yeah, Pinky was the changing force.
Yes.
Pinky was this person.
Big time.
Pinky was this person. It's huge.
Yeah. So it was my, I want to say, 5th fight, approximately, maybe 6th. And I was fighting on Coastal Warfare again. That was my first little stop out in the early days. And I was fighting one of Pinky's guys, Ryan Angel was his name. And so I was very excited because this was the first time there was no mod ties. My first elbow fight, no elbow pads. It was still 3x2, but I was just, and Pinky's old school, you know, if the option to have no pads, Pinky's going to take it.
Always.
Don't matter if it's your first fight or your fucking 100th, like no pads.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yes. And so my whole thing, I was just like fucking excited to get elbow crazy. And the fight went for about a round and a half before I stopped them with just a flurry of elbows.
Yep.
And after the fight, I had no idea who Pinky was at this point. Zero. I don't fucking know anyone. I'm the new guy, right? But I walked out the back and did what I always do, like introduce myself, say thanks for coming up. I heard you from Adelaide. You know, if you ever up my end, pop in kind of thing. And the first thing Pinky says to me was, fuck, you've got sexy legs.
Man. Pinky, the awkward shit he says.
Ryan's sitting there with a fucking collapsed orbital bone and he's fucking from my elbow. And that was Pinky's opening line. I was like, all right.
Man, I've known Pinky now for years.
Yeah.
And I still get stunned by the shit he says.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So that was the opening line. And from there, we got speaking, and I'm not sure if it happened like really kicked off on the day or we kept in touch by message but over the course of the next several months, he had a lot of influence on me to sort of tone down that bullshit Queensland way and go to more strategic Thai style way. So that change didn't happen overnight, but it did gradually come in. I went down there and trained with him at his gym, took away a lot of information back to my gym in Rockhampton. And that's when everything changed. So we went from doing this like hardcore hit stuff to like more balanced strategic strikes. And whether it be a little technique thing he gave me here or there, he'd sent me fucking videos, you know, like he was a huge help early on. And that was really when we went from having a handful of wild brawlers to like slowly creeping up to some pretty fighters, you know.
Yeah. And I think that I've always said Muay Thai is this beautiful thing between beauty and violence.
Yeah.
Like I always, and I say this not to trigger anyone, but I talk about men a lot because I'm a man, I understand men. And I think Muay Thai is this perfect representation of what a healthy man is supposed to be. The combination of violence and spirituality and peace. The combination of aggression and respect. Having that balanced energy. And if you look at good Muay Thai fighters, if you've got a dirty, like you call Queensland brawler, that's just that toxic ego.
It looks like insecurity to me.
But if you're confident in your skill set, if you can take punishment,
smiling,
if you can stay calm, controlled, that's what makes an effective Muay Thai fighter. And I think genuinely Muay Thai is one of those sports that is very different to in every other sport. Like boxing, it's the science of not getting hit. MMA has got this real, just pure aggressive mentality to it. BJJ is all just about submissions and de-escalating the situation. Whereas Muay Thai is just this combination.
For me, it's like, it sums up my life sort of perfectly. You've got the capability and the option of extreme violence. But calmly with a smile on your face. You can choose to apply that violence. You can choose to play with it. You can choose to not engage in it. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. And if you want to be violent, you want to have a bloody bloodbath, you can.
And there's always
if you want to play the outside game and win on points, you can. I mean, that's not my fucking style, but you know, you can.
But even like you noticed, adding that level of control to the aggression, which I think is one of the most important parts for men to develop. You know, a lot of the modern movement nowadays is to remove aggression of masculinity instead of teaching men how to control their aggression. Aggression in the right paths of life, in your career, in your pursuits, in your health and fitness, in protectorship, providership. Aggression is a very powerful tool.
It is.
But when men can't control it,
well, it's when it gets ugly. And so this for me teaches, and one thing I noticed about once you go through that fight world, it does give you the ability to control your emotions. I'll give you a good example. The average bloke on the street having a beer at the pub, if someone lipped off to them, the option will probably be escalates. This person takes it offended. He's got to prove to that person that he doesn't even know. Right. Now, this shit comes up for me all the time in a small town, especially because I do a lot of security. It's come up a couple of times lately while doing, you're that fucking pro Thai game. I can do that. Now, I don't take offense to it. I have nothing to prove. Everyone knows I can whoop his ass. I don't need to engage.
You know you can.
Right? And I don't need to prove that to anyone. Now, had I not been through a fight career and I was still a young, retarded male, it'll probably be different. I'll be like, oh, no, hang on, what did you say? No, you can't, you know, like, and people can't control their emotions. They have to prove to everyone around them they don't even know that they're this fucking tough guy. But they're not. You go through a fight career and all of a sudden you realise all that shit's dumb and you don't need to prove nothing.
Not only that, you realise how many killers there are out there.
Silent assassins, man.
Oh, man. Some of the people that you just look at and go, who the fuck are you? You're like, oh, damn. Like, he would tear me apart. It's incredible. So after Pinky, you transitioned across, you started improving your skills, you started fighting more regularly. One of the fights I want to definitely talk about is probably one of the craziest stories I've heard. And the reason we're bringing this up, but I think it's the Jaden one. Because I think for a lot of fighters, and I always say this, so I teach fighters to tap into their mental locker. And what that means is when you show up to training, you develop the skill set that whatever the fuck's happened during the day, good or bad, you switch off and you show up to perform. And a lot of fighters don't develop that. And their performance on fight night depends on how my weight cut was. Was I injured? Was I sick? Did I eat well? Did I sleep well? Did I wake up well? Like, there's so many external influences when, as long as you accept that when you show up and you got a fucking job to do, you got to perform. And you learn to take off that switch. So
people get in their own heads about that shit.
Huge.
You know,
Like everything's got to fall into place perfectly.
The best example I can think is I got a Whoop band. You know the Whoop band? Track your sleep with this.
Yeah,
all my life.
Yeah, I got my aura ring.
Right,
Yeah.
all my life, traditionally, I've been a bad sleeper. 5-6 hours, that's it. And through most of my career, everything was fine. Whacked sleep schedules, training, overtraining, all fine. I got a Whoop band. The first morning I wake up and my phone says, you won't be able to do this today. Be careful for this because you've only had... And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, so all my life I've been fine. But now that this fucking watch has told me I'm tired, all of a sudden I'm tired.
Yeah.
So don't let that shit get in your head. Just be right.
Yeah. Look, I think there's absolutely, and again, before any amateur coaches watch this and like, fuck yeah, time to smash everyone.
Yeah.
There is absolutely a science to performance and you can't deny that.
No.
You can't go Thai style. Like I remember my fight in Thailand, they were making me do hill sprints before the fight. That, like, I was limping into my fight from the hill sprints the day before. Like, that shit's just stupid.
So there's a line.
But I think so many people focus on only showing up when they're feeling amazing.
When everything's perfect.
One of the things I always teach is when you're at the bottom, accept that today's going to be a fucking tough day and potentially don't try to hit a PB. Don't try to get your fastest run time. Don't go into a Shark Tank if you don't have to. But still fucking show up and perform. And the more we improve on our worst days, the more our average improves, the more the overall success line improves.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people, if they feel down there, their mind will sink them further.
Yeah.
That's where we fucking grow. So talk to me about this insane story.
This is a big one. And actually, I'll round it off with something that makes it funny, which happened recently at a recent MTL, which I haven't told anyone about because it gets pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And if people don't know the story, they might be like, oh, fuck, that got ugly.
Yeah.
So it would have been my 9th or 10th fight, roughly. It was my first 5-5-3 and it was on Coastal Warfare again. Fucking plugging Joe tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Or is that just like the angle for you?
Well, look, they're the closest show to us.
Yeah.
You know?
So it happens.
And that's where it all started in the beginning. And Joe he messaged me and gave me this opportunity. He said, mate, we've got a good fight here for you against Jaden Enyard. And he was, I don't know, 30 fights. I was 10 or something. And he said...
How long ago was this?
This would have been 2018 or 19. I can't remember. It's one of those two. I should know because of the very significant thing that happened on that day. But a big part of those years are blocked out for me. Right?
For a lot of us.
Yeah. So, fights booked. I did have a bit of a struggle getting there. I had an intercostal cartilage problem. So, I could only run in a straight line for training for the last few weeks. I could only do things in a straight line. I couldn't rotate.
Yeah.
And I get down there, and it was the first fight my dad was going to come and watch. He was going back out to sea. He's a pro fisherman, and he was coming off a boat off Sunshine Coast. So, it was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
So I get down there as usual. We've weighed in, weigh-in's done, and it's fight day. And my phone's rung and hot, and I got a message, and it was from the Rockhampton CIB. So the Rockhampton CIB did contact me here and there, always when it was to do with my dad, because sometimes he flew off the rails and hurt a lot of people.
What's the CIB?
That's like the detectives.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. You don't have that here?
Man, I'm new to Melbourne.
Yeah, it'd be a different name or something. Yeah. So anyway, they're like the detectives, the bit more serious police, and because I often had to deal with some of my dad's shit. I was a power of attorney and had to deal with some things because he was a pretty hectic fella.
Yeah.
And at this point, I actually had the shits and I ignored it because I thought, "Fuck's sake, Dad! Like you meant to just be coming here to watch the fight. What the fuck have you done now?" And so I just ignored it. And then sometime after lunchtime, I eventually answered the phone, and they said that we have to come and see you. They would not tell me why. So some uniformed cops show up at my hotel room in Sunshine Coast with a bit of paper. And he says, your father's just been allegedly murdered. We just need you to sign this bit of paper to say we've told you. And then they left.
How gentle.
Just like that. We just need you to sign this bit of paper to say that we've told you. Left, gone. I'm like, well, what the fuck now? Like, what now? You know?
This was the day of the fight?
About 4 hours before the fight show.
Fuck.
Yeah. So I just took a minute to digest that because in my mind, like he was pretty untouchable his whole life.
Yeah.
All of his enemies were dead. You know, like everything and all through the life he lived, he was a bad motherfucker. He's an ex-mercenary for fuck's sake, you know. He's taken lives. And so I didn't really know much about the situation other than it was someone close to him and he was stabbed in the back of the head while cooking dinner. That's all I knew.
They actually told you that.
Pretty much, yeah. They use the word allegedly a lot. Allegedly this, allegedly that. So I think that's their way of saying this is what happened, but we can't say that yet because it hasn't gone to court. You know?
I couldn't imagine.
Fuck, it was pretty heavy, you know? And so I thought about it for a while and I thought, well, there's no way my dad would want me to pull out of that fight. Every bit of fucking grunt and toughness and bullshit, well, not every bit of it, a lot of it come from him, you know? So at no point would he want me to fucking fail now, like pull out now. So we're fighting. We're fucking fighting. Yeah. So I packed my bag and got ready.
Off you go.
Had to have a think about it because, you know, when you go to a fight show, especially a show like a pro-am show like Coastal, there's a lot of new people. The new people fighting that you may or may not know, they're stressed, they're about to fight. The coaches have got shit going on. It's not exactly something you can just go and drop on people. Yeah. Hey, guess what? You know, like you can't, they've all got their own shit to worry about. So I just kept it totally to myself.
Who was coaching at the moment? You were self?
Self. I wrapped my own hands, put my own vest. Oh, actually, there's a slightly funny story here. It's the first time I met Andrew Parnham. I walked out, I just finished wrapping my hands and I needed to find someone to put Vaseline in my face. And I went and asked Andrew and he was happy to help, but I do remember the confused look on his face like, why the fuck do I have to do? Like, where's your people?
Where's your coach?
I'm like, yeah, well, I am my people.
So you didn't even have a cornerman or anything?
No, I found Billy from Sunshine Coast, Noosa Thai Boxing.
Yeah.
I found Billy and also Wayne Bowman. So he was at John Wayne Parr's.
So you just showed up to the fight show and found
cornerman. People. Yeah, can you come corner me? Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh because it's pretty a tragic story.
Yeah. So I found Andrew Parnham to put Vaseline in my face. And then I found Billy and Wayne to corner me. And we'd gotten along plenty before. It's not like first time I'd met them. They were great guys. You know, Wayne, he's over in WA now.
Yep.
Fucking awesome dude. Billy, just great people.
Yeah.
Sort of was about to get ready to walk out. And I remember Billy saying to me like, hey, don't worry, brother. You're going to be fine in there. Because I must have been projecting a little bit of like, will look like nerves or something. Yeah. And I don't really do that. And he was, I don't know. And it wasn't that. It was what was secretly in my head. So right before we walked out, I ended up saying to Billy, man, I'm not worried about the fight. My dad was just murdered a few hours ago. And he's just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I just can't tell no one here, right? So, you know, so it was my way of nicely saying, stop telling me not to be nervous. It's something different.
Fine.
It's different, you know? Yeah. So we walk out.
I wouldn't even know how to deal with that. I've been in this sport for 22 years, coached thousands of people with Riddler for myself.
Yeah.
Done like over 1,000 corners. I've never in my life had to...
Right?
Fucking...
There's no manual for this, you know? Like you've just got to work it out as you go. So the fight starts, there's a 5x3, and almost fucking immediately, Jaden throws this perfect southpaw switch kick to my right arm, breaks it. In first 20 seconds. So that was... The fight wasn't over. The fight went for fucking ages after. Yeah. But that was just like...
You broke your arm on the first exchange.
Pretty much, yeah. You can clearly see it on... I've watched the video. The boom, my hand just flopped to the forward. And then I hop forward immediately. It's a kick, flop, and I just hop forward and start attacking. And it was just fucked. It was pretty ratchet. So that round went on. That round wasn't too bad, except, well, I mean, apart from the broken arm.
Apart from the broken arm, yeah.
I remember having words to, I don't know if it was Wayne or Billy about not putting ice on my arm.
Yeah.
Jaden's out, Mark Pease in the corner. I'm not fucking dumb. They're going to be looking over. I don't want to be seen with,
ice.
Like his arm's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like just, nah.
No target.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah. 2-minute break. It's a long time when you're in pain.
Oh, bro.
You know,
it's much easier fighting during those moments than resting.
Mate, because you got to think now. We sit there and think. Next round comes through, and this is when it got a little bit heavy because Jaden got me with this massive knee and it dropped me 8 count. And I'm down, and I was really fucking... It was a bad one, man. You know, those ones that cripple you, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Especially if you're walking into it with an injury as well.
Yeah, it was already that intercostal cartilage, which we'll go back to, but he actually fixed it that day, weirdly enough. That knee fixed it after fucking 4 weeks.
Thanks, Jaden.
Thanks, Jaden. You're the man, bro. So I'm on the ground, and this is when the dark shit come into my head because I started thinking, what's wrong with you? Oh, you've got a sore rib?
Yeah.
Oh, is that it? You're tired? Have you, this is what I was telling myself, have you just been stabbed in the back of the fucking head and are you bleeding out thinking about your family? No, you're not doing that?
Get the fuck
fucking get up.
Yeah.
hands on the ground, up.
You know, it's amazing. Like a lot of people watch movies and you see those moments when a count is happening slowly and the thoughts are going through your, like it actually happens like that. Yeah. It's like a car crash. It happens so slowly. And in those moments, you have the decision.
Yeah. And so it's gloves on the ground, get up and I look up. I see Jaden. I'm like, Jaden, he's so fucking big. Mate.
He's huge.
Have you stood next to Jaden?
Nah, but he's a big
I got on the ring. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's a big lad.
Because I think it might have been like an 80 kilo fight and I was a 72 so I was already going to be naturally a bit smaller, but he's big.
Massive.
He's a fucking...
And he cuts and he's
specimen,
he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, so I get, I look up and I see that monster over there. Fuck, righto. Off we go. And so the fight went on another couple of rounds. And then it happened again, very similar thing. So it was I've watched the fight, like he was definitely winning, but considering my broken arm, it was a pretty...
You did well.
There was a lot of... It was a good fight. And then in the fourth round, right towards the end of the fourth round, the exact same thing happened again. Drop on the ground, the exact same process. In my head, it's like, I'll work the first time. You're not bleeding out. Get up. And then I went to get up again, and that's when my arm went all fucky.
Yeah.
And they waved it off. And I was a little bit mad because I'm like, I'm fine. My forearm there was a point coming up. Oh. So it didn't bust through the skin, but ultimately, it was bad enough that over the course of the next few months, I did get it rebroken. I had to get a golf ball size calcification shaved off. So they had to open me from here to here. I had 2 more fights with it before I got fixed, by the way. And so that was the end of the fight, boof. And, so whatever happened after the fight, I'm sort of out the back, my arm's fucked, and everything's just like a little bit of relief because I'm like, you always get relief when a fight's over because the fight camp, all this, but this was different because I had this other fucking monster sitting on my shoulder during that day. I'm like,
because most people celebrate after the fight.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, okay, thank fuck for that. And from there, it sort of kept getting worse somehow.
Brace yourself.
It sort of kept getting fucking worse. And so I ducked into Sunny Coast. I think it's like a university hospital or something. And they whacked like a back slab on here. They couldn't put a cast on it because my arm was all
mangled.
So it was like this rattly back slab thing. And drive back to Rockhampton, about 6 hours. And I got a phone call again from Rockhampton CIB. And they'd said that they've got reason to believe the alleged murderer's family are going to go and clear out my dad's belongings, and they don't have a legal way to stop because they were a couple of people that lived in this unit block, and the family of the murderer also lived in the unit block. So his family actually had legal right to go there, and there was nothing the police could do. So police basically gave me a tip-off, look, we don't know what these people are like. We think they might go steal some shit. So best just get there quick. So I'm like, fuck off. Of course that's what I've got to worry about now, right?
Yes, yeah.
So I just punch it straight to Yeppoon. So straight through Rockhampton and then straight out to Yeppoon. And I get there and his car's there. First thing was his car fully packed. So the car was packed. He was about to leave. He was making his last meal to take on the road when it happened. And I run in the door and the first thing I run into is a fucking bloodbath and medical equipment, all the shit they'd use to try and save him, and there's just blood fucking everywhere. It's like a murder.
Yeah,
it's like a murder scene. It was a murder scene. Blood everywhere. There's a cat fucking eating food out of the fry pan that he was cooking with, and it was the only way into the house was actually through this murder scene. So I had to just suck it up and get through it.
I could imagine you'd have such an adrenaline dump after the fight.
I'm not a real spiritual person at all, but it was very cold in there. When I walked in, it was Arctic. First thing I noticed is a couple of valuable things he had. He's a fisherman offshore, so he didn't really have a lot of stuff. He had a couple of big things. They were all gone. Everything's gone. So they had come and cleaned out the house. So I had to do a little bit. At this point, I'm fucking fed up. I haven't slept. My arm's broken. I'm fucking over it. And so at this point, I'm trying to figure out now, how do I get these people? So I went to the real estate of the house and did some sneaky questioning and trickery and got the details of the last people that signed out the keys, which was the murderer's family that took all the shit. So I got their address through filling out the form.
Oh, shit.
And I went straight to their house and I backed my car up straight into their shed. I'll tell the friendly version of this. for reasons, but it was alleged that some things were said and done, and they decided to put everything in my car for me.
All with a busted arm post-fight. Probably still smelling like tire oil.
Probably, mate. Probably, yeah, because it was pretty much a direct
So Andrew Parnham's Vass came in handy at that stage?
Andrew Parnham's Vass, yeah. And that was a really big fucking 24-hour block because I hadn't really slept from the time I found out about it to going through the fight to, the show, where we're co-main event, so it's close to midnight. As you know, you don't really sleep after a show.
No, not at all.
Especially in my situation. So I don't know if I even slept that night before we had to get up the next morning and go straight to the hospital and and then by the time, a 6-hour drive back to Rocky, and then it was like this, almost like this 2-day period of just murder, broken bones, stolen shit, everything whatever went wrong. I'm surprised the fucking car didn't break down on the way home. Yeah.
Murphy's Law really comes in interesting ways.
To wrap this up on a kind of a funny way, quite recently, when Jaden won his WBC world title on MTL.
Yeah, that was the spinning back fist.
Against the German. Yeah. So as you know, I do the post-fight interviews and commentate on the show.
Yes.
So I'm stepping up now. That was the main event. It's probably worth mentioning I'm very strategic with my whiskey consumption during MTL. I traditionally drink a bottle and I save the last 2 nips for the start of the main event. So I'm in peak mode, right? So I'm a little bit trolleyed. I'm feeling good and I'm stepping up to the post-fight interview. I get into the ropes and then all of a sudden it's like the walls are on fire. I'm in the ring with Jaden again.
Oh, wow.
The last time I was in the ring with Jaden, I was thinking about my old man bleeding out, and now I've got to walk up to him and ask him about the fight.
Fuck.
Conveniently for me, Jaden puts the most fucking hilarious turn on his post-fight interview. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
He says to me, after a quick, chat, he says to me, look, I just want to reach out to my opponent's coach. He reached out to me a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he said, sorry, we're coming, but we're bringing the belt home with us. And then he'd gotten the coach into the ring. And he said, so I'm here to say to you, don't be sorry, be better. And it's for me, I'm like, and it's this big funny moment.
I remember that was...
As soon as the whole crowd laughed and everything, for me, that took away a lot of that, the wall stopped burning, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you became present.
It was oh, fuck, and I've watched the interview afterwards because in my head, I just froze.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was totally fine.
You were in autopilot.
I was autopilot. Yeah. So I never thought about it before that moment. I got in the ring and as soon as I seen him there, I was like, boom.
And you would have been lit as fuck as well.
I was lit as fuck. All that whole story I just told come rushing back. And that was a big thing. But luckily, Jaden's a fucking character, and he made a joke in it. And
he belongs on the camera.
Yeah. So it was an eventful weekend.
That's insane. Yeah. There's so much in there. There's so much in there. But for the purpose of the fighters watching this, I want to rewind to a very pivotal moment, and that was the moment when you went down after the knee.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the circumstances and everything gone, I always talk about this, the power of a decision. And the power to get back up, the power to decide to keep fighting, the power of the mind. And whatever I teach people is mindset is the lens you view the world. Mindset training is learning how to control those minds. And regardless of the thoughts and beliefs and survival instincts and everything that we're designed to have, making the decision to actually respond consciously, not subconsciously, is such a crucial part. Because what I want to highlight to the fighters, and I always explain this as well to one of my fighters who won 2 state titles, and both state titles, his knees dislocated multiple times. He'd pop his knee back into place, get up and start kicking the guy.
Yuck.
And there's actual footage of Grant going down, knee pops out, he pops it back in, gets up and starts kicking.
That's fucking disgusting.
Well, it is when you think about it. And even yourself, the broken arm, the knee to the body, that's mindset training.
Yeah.
That's the power of the mind. One of the reasons I really wanted to get you on this podcast, and it's worked out perfectly, is the power of the fucking mind. People don't realize that. You look at the bravado of Conor McGregor. You look at the poetry of Muhammad Ali. You look at the show of Sanchai. All of these things, It's the power of the mind. It's the belief system. It's such a fucking powerful thing. And I hope what everyone can take on board with this is it's devastating the circumstances you went through. But those circumstances and the reflection you were able to have in that moment gave your mind the power that potentially at some other stage you wouldn't have had.
Oh, yeah.
And the worst things that can happen in your life, the difference between a victim and a survivor is how we choose to respond to it. You know, whenever you look at all of these famous like superhero movies, they all have an origin story. Now the villain has an origin story, the superhero has an origin story.
Yeah.
It's how you choose to respond to it.
Yeah, I fucking despise victimhood.
Yes.
I think victimhood is one of the catalysts to a lot of problems in society today, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I am human, and I do notice myself maybe quit here and there with a couple of things momentarily before I have a chat to myself and think, oh, actually, why don't you just fix that problem?
The chat.
Yeah.
That's such an important part because victimhood, and this is what a lot of people get wrong, victimhood is our brain's default. Our brain is there to survive, not thrive. And what that means is your brain is there and survival means low risk. Victimhood, not doing anything, moping around, sitting, is a low risk activity.
Yeah.
So survival, which is your brain's default, actually really enjoys that. Success in any realm is high risk. You can't succeed in anything without it being a high risk situation. So your brain will always go default victimhood, but you choose to have the chat to it, be conscious and choose risk. And the more you choose risk, the more you search for suffering, the tougher you become, the resilient you become, and that allows you to become more comfortable with risk. And this is where a lot of people get that mix very wrong.
Yeah.
Because look, victimhood, life just fucks you sometimes, and it's easy to take the knee.
Mate, most fighters could, if they really wanted to, they could look at every fight they've ever had or lost and find a reason why they could have cried and made excuses about it.
Yep.
In fact, a lot of people do. There's nothing I hate fucking more.
Yeah.
Fight, and the next fucking day, they're making a post about how, oh, but no one knows 10 days ago I was suffering with no man. And shut up. You chose to get in the ring. I don't want to hear about your excuses now. Don't roll out of the ring the next day and cry about all this victimhood shit. You chose to get in there. Don't rob your opponent of his win.
And don't rob yourself of the success of still stepping over those fucking ropes. Yeah. Regardless of what happens.
It's all right to lose. Who gives a fuck? If you don't quit, no one, one of my bloodiest fights that people have brought up with me, I actually lost. And people don't even remember or notice or mention that.
Yeah.
Because it was a war to the end, I actually lost that fucking fight. No one even knows.
Yeah. You know, what's that famous saying from Brad Pitt in that movie Troy? That's why no one will remember your name.
Right.
Like if you don't have those losses, those wars, and again, this is the concept between success and survival. In order to have that success, the risk of losing needs to be there.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful element. On that note, with MTL, you do a lot of the commentating, you're around a lot of the fighters, and MTL, props to Nikita and Benji. They've built an incredible show with so much actual energy in that place. And for the fighters, that entire show must be such a nerve-wracking experience. You see a lot of the fighters in the back room, from the pros that are asleep to the ones that are shitting themselves. And I've always said this, like I was blessed back in the day at Riddler's. I did corners for world champions. And they were all fucking scared in some way. They all had some kind of twitch. Like I remember Eugene Eckelboom, 7 times WMC world champion, poker face. But when I'd be holding pads for him in the back room warming up, he'd have an eye twitch.
Right, yeah.
And you can see, fuck, that's the nerve.
Something's happening, yeah.
Chris Tiger White, I've used this example so many times. So if people search for the fight of Chris back in the day, but I really like, the trilogy that he had with Dan Daddy Cool. When Chris would go up, Chris was an incredible fighter. Beautiful, slick, really good. Fought the likes of Brody, Stolder, everyone. Probably 60, 70 fights. And he would go up as the ref's giving instructions and look away from the fighter. He couldn't make eye contact. And this is like one of the best fighters back in the era.
Yeah.
So fear, nerves, those kind of things are very normal. But the more you've been around fighters, what's a key bit of advice you would, if you could change something in their mindset in the back room, what would it be?
In the back room, out the back. So
Because I feel that's where fighters win or lose.
yeah, it is. And I guess there's not really a one size fits all answer. I enjoy psychology. I like to get to know people on a different level, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
And so my take would be different depending on who's in front of me now.
Yes.
You know, some people I'm really gentle with, and some people just need their feelings validated. So it's almost like talking to a pissed off wife or something. You just let
Make
them,
sure she doesn't eat.
you know, that is, and just validate. Whereas other people, and more recently, Callie Ryan, she fought on the MTL Fight Night, and there's a reel on Instagram about it, me cornering her. I'm abusing the fuck out of her, right? But that's I know her, I know how her head works, and but other people are different. So it's really hard for me to lock down like one answer for one question. I have had some pretty good discussions somewhat recently. Maverick, who I commentate with on,
Yeah.
he had a fighter get stopped a little while ago, and he asked me, he's like, "This is my first fighter that I've had been stopped." He's like, "How do you deal with this as a coach?" And I gave a similar talk to Lucy after her last loss.
Yep.
I said that, well, it's actually quite easy. If you get them to read out their five favourite fighters, they're probably going to be people like Liam Harrison, and right. Well, that's one thing they've all got in common. They've all been stopped. They've all been stopped. They've all been bashed. They've all lost. They've all cried. They've all done all that, and they've all come back.
Yep.
So my thing was like, if you go out there and lose, and you come back, you're now part of what is being a fighter. Because until you fucking lose and get hammered and show up, you're not really a fighter. You're a quitter.
You're a boxer.
Right? Oh, I've lost one fight. I'm done.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and so my thing was like, the result here, if someone's got nerves and they're freaking out, one thing I use a lot is I ask them to picture the fight's over.
Yep.
So we're here now. Picture the fight's over. We're at this fight show. You're out there right now. You're at the bar. You're getting a drink. And whoever it is, you know, let's just make up a scenario. Your family's still your family. Your missus is still your missus.
Yep.
You've still got your job on Monday. Your gym's still your gym. So actually nothing has changed. Whether you win or lose, all of your entire fucking life stays exactly the same. And I get them to think about the fight as if it's already over, regardless of the win or the loss. And every single time it brings them down a little bit, right? So go out and fight. Don't try to do anything stupid. Do what we've done for the last 8 weeks.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of guys that throw some fucking crazy shit out there, but just realize that this is just one tiny part of your journey. You know, my goal as a fighter was to get to 553. That was the only thing I cared about. So all the horrific things that happened to me along the way, they were
part of the journey.
They were nothing but a fucking speed bump. Oh, you worried about losing tonight? Well, you might.
Yeah.
Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Go fight.
Yeah.
Go fight, you know? And one thing I love about MTL is that they've built everything from the ground up. So when you're backstage at MTL, I don't feel nerves from almost anyone. Unless they've got a show where they've got some entry-level amateur guys, but I don't really get to see them much because they're like the prelims.
Yep.
Everything there is built from scratch, including the commentator, including the MC, everything, right? And so all the pros you're seeing there now winning world titles, they didn't start MTL as world champions. Well, a lot of them didn't.
Yeah.
They started as maybe undercard, amateur, semi-pro.
Up.
And then you go up. You know, you've got a couple of guys that have always been at the top of their game, like Brendan Spain, Jay.
Yep.
You know, there's a couple. But Lucy's first fight on MTL wasn't for the WBC world title. It was here.
Yeah, it's a very smart move.
Right? And
so they've kept the same pool of fighters and built them up.
The same or similar pool of fighters, but also the similar crew. So when you go there, it's like family. The same fucking people at the top of the steps when you walk into the Sopo saying, "Hey, you can see again," right? Nakia and Benji are there. And you know, some of my funnest times in my fight career was actually with Nakia and Benji. My last 6 fights was
Yeah.
Right? And then you go out the back and it's the same people. And everyone knows everyone. It is like a fucking family there. And that changes the vibe, because I've never been to a fight show like it. If you go to any other fight show, just pick a fight show, you can feel it, right? You go to
that's what I mean, that energy. Like,
you can feel it, you know, you can feel the tension, you can feel old mate over here who's never fought and he's freaking out. You can feel the guy over here who's had a few fights, but his last fight was a loss and he's freaking out, like, and you can just feel it. I don't get into that. And I think it's just they've created this perfect little home feeling. And God, I'd hate to be a person that had only ever fought at MTL and then has to go somewhere else.
Yeah, so I think this advice would probably be more to the promoters out there. As Jamie said, do better.
Do better. Yeah.
Do better. Because you're right, like in normal places, and that's what I mean, you walk into the back room and like, shit, this is electric.
Yeah, it is. And MTL, I mean, obviously I spent a lot of time there, but even with our guys, my fighters, whether they be amateur or pro, we've got a select few that we go to.
Yeah.
And I sort of take charge of our environment. If there's a freak out thing over here, it's not like I explain this to all the fighters that are freaking out. We go over here, we set up.
Yeah, cool.
You know, we have our own thing. So Conquest is a big one for us.
Yep.
Fucking amazing amateur show.
Yep.
If the numbers are right, I'll organise big accommodation for everyone. We're in as a family. We create this like memory, and that energy the whole way there, the whole way down, it counts on the night out the back. Creating a good time there, good weight cut, good refuel. They're not freaking out. You know, I make all their food for them, and everything's there. And I do that on purpose because my first experience going down south with Ben Sorensen was fucking chaotic. It was bad. He wanted to catch up with his mate, but his mate was a rough old druggie. And then another mate went with him and he had to pick up his bag. And then someone attempted suicide and there was police tape around it. So you couldn't get your bag. And now you're trying to figure out how to cut weight and you don't know where you cut. So, and that was like, and that's chaos. Yeah. So your fight has now your bottom of your priorities, you know, like
you're dealing with everything.
You're dealing with all this bullshit. And I think a lot of how the coach takes their team to the show plays a big role in how they feel at the show warming up. If you've had a fucking cunt of a 6 hours bleeding up to it because your coach is a nut job, how are you meant to calm down and do your job there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we try to make everything a smooth memory the whole way there until the fight's over. After the fight's over, look, Macca's and bottle, I don't care.
That's epic.
Yeah.
Guys, what a chat. I hope everyone's taken a piece away from the fighters to the coaches to the promoters. This is something I think that's going to provide a lot of value and resilience and mindset to a lot of people.
Yeah, mindset's a big one.
Huge.
I think it's 90%.
Man, that's why I love being in this space.
Yeah.
My man. Pleasure, bro.
Brother.